purpose of this world, as I come to understand of life, is to create and extend. Honesty is the best thing for everybody. You're asking yourself the question, who am I? Based on things that have happened in your life. And you're looking for answers in so many different places, just the wrong places. When God created each and every one of us, He created us perfect in who we are. So you have the potential to be a good person. Welcome to another edition of our Mastermind podcast, where we discuss the essence of character and how to discover and master oneself. Today, we will be discussing the difference between being nice versus good. And I said we because I have Lena here to weigh in on these conversations that we will be having today. But before we go any further, please do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button, and then leave a comment as to how you receive this message. Because here at the Starting Point Coaching, our goal is to unite hearts and minds in essence of completing and achieving our own personal desire that benefits the majority around us. So, as I'm going forward, one of the reasons why this topic came up to me and why I'm so interested in it is I want to take you back when I was 6 years old. At 6 years old, I did something I thought was good because my grandmother had taught me that being good is a great thing, and most importantly, that honesty is the most important thing that anyone can have. And the thing about honesty is that we must be honest with ourselves. And it's not for other people that we are honest. It's not for the desire or the pleasantry of other people that we are honest, but for our own fulfillment in life and how we can grow to become the character that we desire to be for the world to see, right?
So, sorry to interrupt. So the good thing that you did was based around honesty, or are you going to get to that point? I'm
getting to that point.
Okay.
The good thing that I thought was good it was based on honesty. The war has started, and then this was the first civil war that I was going through. My grandmother and I have left Liberia, and we went to Sierra Leone. And of course, a year later, the war spilled into Sierra Leone. Now, my grandmother are on our way back to Liberia, where it's my home country, where I'm from. Along the way, we actually come and meet up with my father. This is the first time, and the actual first memory that I have of my father.
So you never met him
Up to this point, age 6, I haven't really met or have any kind of memory of who my father was or is, the kind of person he was. I had no knowledge of it, right? So, first time I meet my father, I was excited. Things was good. But we spent about 2, maybe 3 weeks in the village where my life would really take shape for the better. Now, in hindsight, in the moment when it was happening for me, it seemed like the worst thing ever. Yet it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me to prepare me for the journey that I truly wanted to be on. So the morning arose, my grandmother decided that we were going to leave the village so that we can meet up in Monrovia with my mother and my siblings, so that we can all be together, because there's, of course, the civil war is going on. Now we have civil war in 2 countries, Liberia and Sierra Leone. So my grandmother and I were leaving. Halfway out of the village, I remember, and I can still remember, there's a bridge to cross, there's a swamp. And as I was walking along the bridge across the swamp, I remember that I didn't really say goodbye to my father. I thought it was a good thing because, again, my grandmother have taught me to be honest. I was being honest to say, you know what, grandmother, I would like to say goodbye to my father. Now, looking back at it, I know that she knew that if my father knew that we were leaving, he would most certainly not accept me leaving with my grandmother. My grandmother said no. I insisted that I wanted to say this goodbye. And I began to cry and I wouldn't go. So she said, fine. Walk me back, go to my father and say goodbye to my father. And to his surprise, he didn't know that we were leaving. Well, I was being nice to my father. Why? I was being really harmful to my grandmother, because this is the last time I also saw my grandmother. and this will be the last time I will see her. When I go into this play, every single time I go into this place, every time and I play the tape over and over, could I have done anything differently? The answer would be no. If I knew that my father would say, no, you can't leave, you have to stay here, would I still have wanted to say goodbye to him? Yes. And again, later on, the same story come up in my life again, except this time I had my voice and I understood what good was, especially for me, versus nice. So in that moment, I realized that nice is doing the things that we do to please other people's desire for us, mainly our parents, mainly our family members, right? So in that moment, I was being nice to my father to say, hey, I can't just leave. But I was not being nice to my grandmother, and I was absolutely not being good to her or myself. So when I think of it this way, I choose to be good, not nice.
And you were 6 years old at this time.
I was 6 years old. From that moment on, I decided that I wanted to be good, not nice, because it brought me no joy, no peace to do something for the pleasantry of other people if it didn't benefit me and a lot more. You know, my favorite quote, and again, the Bible is the book of wisdom. And one of the passages in the Bible that speaks of, it talks about service. And it speaks of our existence in this world, that the Son of Man did not come to be served, but came to be of service to others. And in the process of being of service to others, give his or her life as a ransom to many. So in that very alignment that says that I give my life as a ransom to many, clarify that I'm not here to please a single individual. And that single individual includes myself, but to create and extend from within me the character that I am and what I choose and know to be good. Create this and extend it out to so many that would benefit from it. Some of the things that we do is maybe you build a community of people that trust and believe in the path that you walk in. Because why? They see that this is going to benefit so many people. When we talk about self-mastery, it's a selfless topic that is designed to allow the individual to look within themselves, connecting the hearts and the mind to properly assess what is it that is deemed to be your calling. What is it that is your life's work? And this gift is given to you, and you have had these thoughts, these desires to give to so many people. And if this gift is that powerful, you feel it within yourself, I see it as a responsibility now to allow myself to hear it, see it, and allow the rest of the world to see it. Then they can choose to be a partaker of this, because now I'm a ransom to so many, or they can be in denial of this because this message doesn't really suit them and the character that they are. So when we talk about character of a person, I think a nice is a character that is weak and good is a character that is strong.
So how old were you when you realized this distinction? Because you were 6 at the time. And then was it like a few months later? Was it when you were a teenager looking back? Or was it like in that moment you decided?
It was years later, and I lost my grandmother 2 years later after she left. And at this time, I'm in the village with my biological father, and I have 3 stepmothers. And among the 3 stepmothers that I had, I also had 7 brothers and sisters at the same time. In that moment, I saw myself as an outcast. And one of the things I talk about in my book is that my voice was within me, but was never being heard. In those moments, I started to gather through my brain that my 2 words didn't really align. My physical environment was showing and teaching me one thing, and my mental or emotional world was showing and seeing different things. And that's the word that I had to believe in. That's the world that I had to choose. Then I started to realize that this place in my physical environment isn't where I wanted to be because of the desire that I have innate within me and the things that I wanted to do. And if that wasn't going to be made possible where I was, there was somewhere else that this could be made possible. Because I firmly believed that I could be a better person. I firmly believed that I could be in a better place. I firmly believed that I could create a life better than what I knew, better than the circumstances that was presented to me. It would have been a nice thing to do to accept this as life, because this is my circumstances. The rest of my family have grown through this. Generations have come through the same upbringing. What makes me so different? Well, I wasn't in the interest of being nice to people. I wasn't really there to be nice. I was there to create and extend to so many that were around me who I knew could be better. When I lost my mother at age 12, that's when it really kicks in. So fast forward now from age 6 to 12, right? 12 and a half. My mother passing really changed everything for me. When I looked at it, and I have lost the two most important women in my life. My grandmother was instrumental in my development. My mother was instrumental in my moral and ethical behaviors, which I was exhibiting at the time, because she was the kindest person that I knew. If my mom was in this room, she would probably speak like maybe 2 or 3 words, but she would have a smile on her face the whole time. I realized that my mother has been nice. I realized that my mother have done everything that she was doing to please other people, to accept her for who she was and to like her. And everyone to this day would talk about my mother, as an angel. But for me as her son, growing up and watching her suffer, it was the worst thing I could have seen, because I wish and I wanted to see my mother be strong and make decisions for herself. Choose the life that she wants, regardless of what other people thought.
So while she was being nice, this whole time you're growing up, did you know that she was being a people pleaser, or was it
I knew that at around age 9 or 10.
And so you could see her kind of suffering herself while people pleasing other people.
Absolutely, 100%. And one of the most important story that happened was she has visited me in the village, which I didn't know would be the last time, but it was the last time. And when my mother was leaving the village, at this time, actually, my little sister was also there with us, but they left. Now, at this moment, she has a different relationship from my father. When my mother came to see me in the village that one time, last time, I could see a human being that was very depressed, that was very unhappy with the situation of their lives. And I still remember to this day asking my mother, granted that she was no longer in relationship with my father, to stay, because I truly didn't like the man that she was dating at the time.
And I'm assuming you didn't know this was going to be the last time.
I had no idea this was going to be the last time. She didn't know either. But I just knew, and I saw a very unhappy mother. And I wish to God that in that moment I had the power, the strength to just speak the words that was within me. But all I could say is to hug my mother and say, please don't leave, stay with me. Because when I saw the relationship that she was in, it's not the kind of relationship I think anyone should be in. Mentally, physically abusive relationship, right? That was taking a toll on her. And of course, a year and a half later, I get the news that my mom passed away. I was devastated. At that point, I stopped caring. I really didn't care what happened to me at that point. No family member was going to tell me what to do. Zero. So at the funeral of my mother is when I made the most important decision of my life that was good, and that is now benefiting so many people in my life. So at the funeral of my mother was the first time that I really decided to take life as it was, to take decision into my own hand. And the best thing my father ever did for me was to say, yes, we're going to your mom's funeral. Because when my grandmother passed away, I wasn't able to go to her funeral. I was younger. But when my mom passed away, I think my father could not take that away from me to say, you can't go to your mother's funeral. So he took me, and I met the rest of my family member that I have yearned to see for the last 7 years, and I have not seen them. Well, the funeral is over. Everyone's still very devastated. My brothers and sisters are. On the way out, my father said, we're going to leave. Now play this back 6 years and a half prior, when my grandmother was leaving, and I made a decision to go say goodbye to my father. Well, this time, my voices were going to be heard, or at the very least, seen. On the way out, I remember just sitting on the stairs, standing. My father has walked from the house very close to the gate to exit. And now my biological father is, of course, passed away, but my uncle, who is the older brother of my mother, so his sister just passed away, so we were at his house. And he is now the man that I call my father because he adopted me. So by way of adopting me, my uncle now becomes my father, and he becomes the most important figure in my life. And as I'm sitting here, my father's looked behind, I'm not close to him, asked me the question, what are you waiting for? We have to go. And I just shook my head, didn't want to go. I said no. At that age, for me and everyone else, it was surprising. Because I was indifferent of my father. I was indifferent of my family. I was indifferent of family value. Well, at that moment, I didn't care about being nice. I didn't care about doing anything that pleased anyone else. I was most interested in doing the things that had been festering within me that I knew if and when done, it would benefit so many people. So in essence, have I been nice? I would have gone back to the village. And I'm not sitting here. By being good, I made a decision that is now benefiting so many around me. So again, self-mastery is a process of really learning oneself and defining the good character within you that you can give. And you have to be a strong person to be a good person. Which is why I said earlier, a nice character is a weaker one. Because to be nice doesn't take any strength. It takes me and you being agreeable. The answer to your question, again, it took my grandmother and my mother passing for me to stand up to be a man at full age of 13 years old, to say no to my father, no to my uncle, no to my aunts, no to pretty much every one of my family member. And at that time, it was crazy to think of it.
So can you elaborate on when you said no to your father at that time, how that was good? Like what happened by saying no to not going with them made that good instead of nice and going along with them?
By saying no to my father made it a good decision, because even though my father disowned me from that moment on, and for 18 years we didn't speak, it turns out to be a good decision because my decision was not based on selfishness. My decision was based on the simple fact that I've seen my family for where they are and a lack of willingness and interest to do better than the circumstances that is handed to us. I was the only one in that moment, especially from my father's side of the family, that had this burning desire to be in better circumstances than where I was. My circumstances at the time was to prepare me for this. So what was good about that, I made that decision in the interest of not just me, but my family. And to follow up on that, I made sure through my life's journey to this point that I've never forgotten my family. I've never looked back on them. Although my family and I didn't speak for 18 years, everything that I was doing, that I have been doing to this point, was to link back to that relationship and build that bridge.
Okay.
I carry within my heart that my father loves me. I know he did. I carry within my heart that I love my father because I really did. I really respected him. So did many other people. The decision or choices, however, he was making for me, it was going to influence and impact my life. At that moment, I was making a good decision because the choice was about my life. Again, I didn't come in this world to be served. I came to serve others. So if I am to grow up and be of service to so many as I desire, I must choose the path that is clearly lay within me, but hasn't yet matured to a physical reality for people to see it, and follow that with faith and hope, with persistence and being patient with the process. So by doing that, when I made a decision in 2016 to link back with my father, it took me a lot of work, a lot of therapy work, a lot of coaching work to do this. It was my choice that I wanted to work with a coach. It was my choice that I wanted to work with a therapist, because I had a circumstance that I was dealing with that was bigger than I. To make sense of it, I needed to unpack everything that happened. So to truly understand, and of course, naturally, when I went through the therapist the first time, was about my family. Now, I didn't hesitate to let my therapist know at the time, I'm not here for the baggage of my family. I'm here for clarity. To understand the path that I've chosen is actually a good one that will lead me to accomplish everything that I have. So my desire and goal of being here with you is to pretty much bounce this idea of you, so I can see myself across from you based on the idea that I've built within myself. So from that point on, I started to master the person that I am. What led me to make those decisions at the time? Who was I at 13 years old to tell my father no? The whole family no. So at the end of the day, my uncle finally stepped in. He said, well, and my uncle is a lawyer, again, who now is my father. He finally stepped in and said to my father that, well, if Abraham wants to stay, he can. That brought such a peace within me that before I made the decision, didn't know who was going to support it, really didn't care. I didn't think about the outcome. All I knew was that this is what I wanted. This is where I want to be. Because by making this decision that was good, it was going to prepare me for my education. So now I can fully begin my education of going to school. Being in a classroom with kids that you are 5-6 years ahead of in age, it's not a fun thing. I wasn't trying to be nice. I was trying to be good. Because the good for me was to get my education at all costs. And in order to do that, I needed to not be nice, good, to be respectful and understanding of the choice that I'm making, how it benefits other people at every single moment in my life. It is what I'm about. It is what I've always been about. It is a character that is built within me that allows me to go through it, every situation, and understanding that the outcome is based on my decision. Because my decision and my outcome are one and the same. It's a cause and effect. It's not about what I do to you necessarily, but it's about how I desire or decide to treat myself. Because if I treat myself and I look at myself in a good light, there is no way I'm going to treat you any different. So for me, there is no difference between you and I. Goodness is goodness. And if you want to be nice, be nice. That's good. The world is going to love you because you're a nice person, but you're going to hate yourself for it. Your family's going to love you because you're a nice person. You're going to hate yourself for it. So
you don't think that good and nice can go together?
Not in a way that we've come to understand it. They could go together if we put good first ahead of nice. This morning, for example, before coming here, right? I did a nice thing. Drive in, I stop at McDonald's. I don't eat McDonald's except for the oatmeal. So I got myself an oatmeal. I was under no obligation to get you a coffee or to get the video guy Verak a coffee, right? That's not a good deed. That's a nice thing to do. I was there. I was getting something for me. And then I thought, wouldn't it be nice to show up and surprise you with a coffee? Now, here's the thing. If I show up with a coffee and Verak said, sorry, I don't want coffee. If I did that expecting a reciprocal action towards me to say, oh my God, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. And yeah, let me do something for you. I've already failed. If you said to me, hey, I don't want the coffee. I don't drink coffee. Oh, I'm sorry. That's it. You don't want coffee. You don't drink coffee. I did a nice thing. You didn't ask for it. You didn't even know I was going to do this thing. Sometimes we take it personal when we do nice things for people and they don't accept it. Like, how do you not appreciate what I've done for you? I didn't ask you.
Yeah.
I wasn't even there when you were making these decisions. How am I now to be blamed because they didn't accept it? Well, the best I can say to you is, thank you so much, but I really don't drink coffee. That's you being honest and good, so that in the future, if I desire to do something for you, I got two choices. I can call you and say, hey, Lena, I'm at McDonald's. Would you like anything? You say yes or no. But at least I know now you don't drink coffee, so I'm not going to get you a coffee. Right? And so for me, like, the whole idea of being nice and good is you do something for being nice, that's a price. If someone accepts it, let them accept it. But I did that actually because I felt good. I was in that moment. It made me feel good to do it. So I've already served myself. I've already fulfilled the desire within me to do good.
I mean, that's what it usually should be, right? But like you said, a lot of people have an expectation that if they give this amount of money, to an organization, they want recognition or they should get special treatment, but then you're not doing it from like an authentic place. And same thing with Christmas gifts, someone might get the same pair of socks every year and the person who's being nice will say, oh, I love these socks, and they don't. But then
Exactly.
they're getting them every year now and they're just getting tossed to the side. So that's a good point.